there. I am Emma from the College Tribune. I'm the assistant news editor, and I am lucky enough today to be talking with Sarah Michalek, the candidate for the ENTS officer for the SU. How are you, Sarah?
Good, Emma. Hi, how are you? I'm great. How are you?
Grand, yeah. Just living life with the pandemic. How are you finding it?
Yeah, look, rough, and I know that just everything going on at the same time. It's a lot. But we're
Yeah,
getting through, powering through.
we're powering through. It'll be over soon. The monotonous days will be over. Um, so I'm just going to ask you a few questions. First of all, why are you rerunning for ENTS officer?
Yeah, so I'm rerunning. I mean, primarily because I really enjoyed the role. But I suppose there is also that factor that when I ran last year, originally, when I started collecting my signatures, there was no pandemic.
Yeah,
So I was
so
kind of, I thought I'd be on campus and look, I I can say I've enjoyed the challenges, though at the time they were certainly not enjoyable. But with the creativity I've had to kind of engage with this year to kind of make it work online. But in saying that, I would love to be able to do some things on campus as well, if it's possible next year. And then I do think I've gained some really valuable experience that I can just kind of use to improve next year as well. So
amazing. What are the sort of lessons that you've learned, and like how will you employ them next year?
well, there's definitely an aspect of learning, okay, how can I engage people online? It's obviously going to be quite different to how you would engage people in person. And it has been a thing that everyone ever has been trying to figure out in the SU, just like how to engage students more and more. Um, what are the lessons? I suppose is the importance of social media, just like increasingly how much you can kind of convey and how you can actually, it is, it's not ideal to be doing everything via Zoom,
Yeah,
but it's possible. And just, I think the biggest thing I learned is flexibility, really. Just like, look, this is the way things are, you signed up for this, deal with it.
yeah,
And I think it's a good lesson to learn overall, pandemic or no pandemic. So
yeah, definitely. So, given that flexibility, your manifesto is quite focused on sort of post-pandemic, post-lockdown events. Given the uncertainty of a return to campus, have you made any provisions for making campus-based activities remote?
yeah, well, look, the thing is, I kept my manifesto quite vague, and you'll hear me say this an awful lot, but anything I say I want to do,
Hmm.
but I just can't guarantee when it'll happen
Yeah,
or like, exactly what I can do. Um, I'm definitely going to continue on the things that have been successful this year. So looking back, any of the competitions, workshops, events, collaborations, I'm going to continue doing that, improve it. Um, I'll also have some new people on the team, granted if I'm elected,
yeah,
and it'll just be a great kind of opportunity to brainstorm, get new ideas, obviously reach out to students. I mean, the future second years are going to kind of know, okay, this is what this year has been like, this is what I really hated, and this is what I really liked. And, they could literally just tell me like it's all about engaging with the students and asking them, okay, what did you actually want to see?
yeah. Perfect. Would you consider, because of like possible blended learning next year, as you said, seeing what students liked or disliked, would you consider maybe live streaming events or holding multiple nights of the same event for students? Or are you trying to for engagement and things like that, just for students that
Um,
might be able to
well,
join?
definitely. I live streamed. Well, I collaborated with ENTS officers from different colleges around Dublin, and we actually did the ENTS online ball at the very beginning of the year. So that was live streamed.
Yeah,
Parts of it were pre-recorded, parts of it were live streamed, and I suppose it was at the very beginning. So we'd probably do things differently now, but I think it just depends on what people's attitudes would be like now for the live stream. I think I'd be open to all the different things
of
we could
course.
be doing. Like very often we would be putting on a Zoom event and then live stream it to Facebook.
Oh, perfect.
I suppose you kind of said, would I focus more on engagement or more so on live streaming or kind of phrase it like that?
Yes,
I think I'd just use every opportunity to get to the students, whether it's live streaming or like I'd be trying to do more than one thing at once, I suppose.
amazing.
And in terms of putting on more the same thing more than once, yeah, I don't see why not. Look, if it's a case of we start to slowly come back next year and say only a select amount of students could come to an event, I'm definitely gonna like incorporate that and get
Yeah,
the students, but then I'll live stream for the rest of the students as well. So I suppose okay, that's a very long way of saying the answer, but basically I'll work with what I have.
I understand perfectly, yeah. You also mentioned in your manifesto getting big acts such as Blind Boy and Happy Pair and inviting them back to UCD. Have you contacted them at all? Are they willing to return to campus?
So it was more so saying that these are the people we've had in the past and they've had a big reaction out of students, and that I will be looking into getting more kind of big scale acts like that. I'd say Happy Pair would be happy enough to come back to UCD. I haven't kind of said specifically who I'll be asking, and I did that very much on purpose because I just don't know. That's kind of what the summer period is for, kind of planning. Okay, I'll reach out to you. Are you able to do this? And are you able to kind of go along with us, whether it's going to be online or in person? But I know for a fact that there will be acts that will be very willing to come back or just come for the first time to UCD. Especially when you see that the students are just like, just give us something to be excited about, you know?
Absolutely. You also mentioned in your manifesto things like portable chargers, which I know will be so helpful now when people come back to campus. Have you taken any steps to secure those for next year?
I did, and you know what? Funny story. I don't know if that's funny, but I got two because I was kind of looking into getting some for kind of older laptops and then some for newer laptops, and which are the two of the ones I bought were actually like refunded, and I don't think they've come to the office yet, but I'm definitely getting them for next year. Yeah, that's still definitely
amazing. As restrictions lift and cafes and restaurants reopen on campus, will you continue your promise? I know last year you were hoping to get more vegan and vegetarian options into cafes. Will that still be something students can look forward to as sort of campus reopens?
You know, I know I told you I'd be saying this an awful lot, but it really just depends. It just depends, because obviously when I was coming up with this last year, the cafes were in a place where they probably could have looked into more vegan options, whereas now vegan, vegetarian, kind of just more variety, I suppose. But now it's just really a case of, okay, can they open? When will they open? Are they in the position financially even, or in terms of resources, to be looking into that? I'll definitely be having conversations and lobbying, as I kind of said last year, but it just really depends.
Yeah, you're put in such an awkward position last year, honestly, I think.
Weird. Yeah.
The pandemic has been bizarre. I know as well, a lot of, going back to your lovely colourful manifesto, you're sort of talking about a lot of alcoholic events. Do you have any plans to hold any sort of non-alcoholic events next year?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, I think last year I specifically said non-alcoholic events, but I feel like it's just been incorporated so seamlessly this year.
Yeah.
It's important to mention it, but I feel like I just know in my head I definitely will have events that are both alcoholic and non-alcoholic, you know, just like most of my workshops wouldn't really be alcoholic events. But a lot of the events, I suppose, if you label them that way, would be like, okay, well, you don't have to. You know, I did say one event with Draw Sock, and we actually did drink tea and draw. And that was lovely, you know, and it was during the day. So absolutely, I'll be mixing it up. Definitely. And sure, I have a non-alcoholic events officer on the Instagram as well, so I'd be working with them on that as well, for sure.
Perfect. You also mentioned, of course, the strain on students' mental health during this time. So what sort of events can students look forward to next year? Like sort of workshops and things do you have planned to help with mental health?
Again, I'm going to say that it depends, but I most certainly will be working with the ENS officer, or not the ENS officer, the welfare officer. And actually Nightline reached out to me and they were asking, granted I'm elected, would I be willing to work with them? And I thought, oh my God, okay, perfect. I literally have this manifesto point already. You are just absolutely here.
That's
just
fantastic.
Great. And I was actually chatting to Aoife a bit, who's the public face of Nightline this year. And she was mentioning things like workshop on, for example, how to talk to your friend who might be kind of not feeling the best, let's say, put mildly. Things like, you know, how to actually cope with stress, how to cope with just feeling down, I suppose, feeling isolated. It's all the things that students are facing now, like missing their friends or not being able to meet new people. I mean, oh, it's just, yeah, there's a lot of factors that
Yeah.
students really stress about now. And just thinking about them, heart just breaks.
Yeah, definitely. So my last question is, this is your second year, you're running unopposed for ENS officer. Do you think that there's an engagement issue within the union considering the lack of people running, or are you just sort of happy to get a second run?
I mean, I definitely would have run anyway because whether I was contested or not, because it really was just something I did want to continue, and I do know I can give it another go. That will be hopefully better. Just again, depending on whether we get to be back on campus. But can you just say the question again?
So it's your second
engagement.
year.
Sorry,
Is there an engagement issue within the union, or do you think?
I think, and I've said this before as well. I think every year there is a case of engagement. We're never going to reach all 30,000 students in UCD, you know. I do think that over the last kind of 2 years, let's say roles weren't contested, people weren't really running. Now, granted, last year it was pre-pandemic, they would have been collecting signatures, but this year especially, people are aware there's a pandemic. It's a big job to take on, you know, especially when you can't actually interact with students, / you don't know if you will be able to interact with students. On these events, it's yeah, I think partly engagement, but a lot of it is to do with the year that's in it, honestly.
Definitely. So before I leave, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just thank you so much for taking the time to interview me, and anybody watching, thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Make sure you're registered to vote.
Perfect. And when does registration close? Because I know the voting is March 31st and April 1st, is that right?
Yeah, so you can actually register all throughout voting as well.
Amazing. So thank you very much, Sarah Michalek. I think
thank you, Emma.
In the beginning, I'm very sorry. Sarah Michalek.
You're grand. Honestly, people have called me Michaela before.
Oh my goodness. Well then, so thank you to Sarah Michalek, and thank you again to everyone for watching.